Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.
Welcome to the Elevate Construction Podcast. I'm Jason Schroeder, and today I'll share with you a shorter podcast. I call these shorter episodes Build a Little Better episodes. They're meant to share smaller topics that will help you to build a little better. Today's topic is about starting a new assignment. This tip and trick has helped me every time that I've started a new assignment. I learned about these concepts in various books about self-improvement, about business, and about leadership, and have distilled this down into a small and easily implementable process that I know that you're going to be excited about, and it will help you every time that you start a new role, that you start a new assignment, so that you can go be as effective as you want to be. So let me go through this, and actually I'll tie it to an example. So when I first started as the lead superintendent at the research laboratory, one of my favorite projects, I went through a process of identifying my role, making resolutions for that role, setting up new habits, creating leader standard work, made sure that I was mentoring the right people, that I set up the right weekly and daily meeting structures, made sure that I had the right tools, equipment, training, and time, and then I let that system drive me towards success. So in that example, let me just tell you kind of how I was feeling. So before going into that role, I was excited about the new role. There were certain things in my current role that basically had determined that I'm complete with that. I don't need to be doing that any longer. I'm pretty excited about my new role. So what things do I want to close out? Okay. I want to stop these certain meetings. I want to close down and archive these certain files. I want to just really recap on some of the resolutions and goals that I've had up to this point. And I want to really go through and clean up everything that's on my computer, everything that's on my phone, make sure that everything's just tidied, buttoned up, and put away. Okay. Then the next thing that I would do and was very excited about it was, all right, so I'm going to go be a lead superintendent. So the first thing I'm going to do is write down my new role. Now, and I'll use the example of the lead superintendent. So in that role, it wasn't, oh, I'm going to go manage other superintendents, or I'm going to go be the boss, or I'm going to, create schedules. It was very focused on what that role would need to do and be to be successful. So, in the role of a lead superintendent, based on the things that I knew, I would write down things like I need to do reflection walks every day. I need to be focused on procurement throughout the project and early on, and make sure that I'm attending weekly procurement meetings. I need to make sure that I have a system that will remove roadblocks for everybody else on site. I need to be able to plan and prepare work. So I need to come up with a system to transition planned work to the assistant superintendent so that they can take over. Okay, my role on the project would be to constantly see the future and make sure that I'm queuing people up and holding the job site accountable for being on time. Okay, so I was going through these basically role descriptions that weren't, industry standard. It's not something that you would find on a hiring website. It's not something that you would find in some kind of a textbook. It was, what things have I learned about that role? How would I describe it so that I can be most effective? And to me, a lead superintendent is somebody that is able to see the future, forecast, plan and prepare work, make sure that we have operational excellence out in the field, that we're getting the information to the worker, scaling communication, dealing with procurement, removing roadblocks, allocating manpower, things like that. So I would create this role and list, and I did list it out on a piece of paper. Actually, it was on a Word document on my computer. And so I wrote that down. And that was a document that I constantly referenced and that I shared with the team. Now, the second thing, and I specifically did that with that role as well, is list out resolutions, and these can deal with appearance, language, behavior, self-talk. What am I going to tell myself every day that's true about myself so that I can make sure that I'm in the right mental state? I learned this from a very, I would say, from a very well-respected and moral leader that was able to accomplish numerous things. And I even think that Abraham Lincoln used to do things like that. It's a list of resolutions of what you will and will not do, what you will and will not do. These are the things that will define and guide your life, and resolutions in this instance will define and guide your role. So for me, I changed the way I dressed. So the lead superintendent should dress a certain way. My wife went, because she's fantastic, went and bought me new clothes. I had a new look and it was appropriate for that role. I would make resolutions about what I would and would not say, made goals about, not cussing. And I would, be outspoken. I would speak up. I would make sure that I was scaling communication constantly. I would spend at least this much time every day in the drawings. That's where the 3 daily habits came from. I would spend this much time doing, daily walks. I made a resolution that I would mentor somebody at least 3 times a week. I made a resolution that I would always help with proposals even though I was focused on the project. I made a resolution that I would partner with the project manager and intentionally have meetings, lunches, team building, and I would always be candid with him. These resolutions were a list of things that I decided that I was going to do that would support my role. That if I didn't do, the role wouldn't go well, because how you execute that role is very important. The other thing is habits. I restructured my habits. So again, I already mentioned the morning, the morning time that I spent inside the schedule, the time that I spent reading the drawings for 30 minutes a day. That was a huge one. Afternoon focused walks throughout the project to take notes, having morning huddles every day, making sure that I had walks that were scheduled with the assistant superintendents to go do reflection walks, made sure I had carved out time for the owner to go provide the reports that I needed to be doing, carved out time for learning not only for the year, but on a weekly basis. This is how much time, and this is the time block time that I'm going to do it to go learn for my role. These are the books that I want to read. These are the courses that I want to take. This is how I'm going to go through this and support the role that I have so that I'm continuously learning. So once I had that, once I had a new set of habits, and I didn't keep that written down for long, that was just noted so that I could transfer that onto standard work for my Outlook calendar. And some people will have, daily planners. They'll have another way to organize their system. I used Outlook. So I would add the 30 minutes of reading drawings onto my Outlook calendar. I would add the time that I'm in my schedule for 30 minutes in my Outlook calendar, reflection walks in my Outlook calendar, the walks with assistant superintendents in my calendar, training time in my Outlook calendar. These became leaders' standard work items that I would protect, keep on my calendar, and that would make sure that I'm focused on the 20% of the things that I would do that would bring the 80% of my return. So, leaders' standard work, setting that up was absolutely amazing for me, because now it goes from role to resolutions to habits, but that doesn't matter unless you actually schedule that. So putting that on your Outlook calendar is absolutely fantastic. Okay. The other thing is, when you're in a leadership position, you need to intentionally decide what things you will and will not do for mentoring. And because it's not going to come easy, mentoring your people, managing your people, checking in with your people, making sure that you're training your people, that you have the right meetings for your people. Then the other thing is the meeting structure. Once I had the leader standard work, which are the things that I need to protect, I would create a meeting structure. And here's the order in which I would create this. And I would recommend it to anybody listening to this podcast. Number one, what is your family time? What is your personal time? What are those things that you need to do to take care of your family? Like date night, like taking your kids to their soccer practice, or Saturday time that's sacred, playing with the kids, or Sunday church, whatever you want to put on there. That's the first thing that I put on my Outlook calendar. I already had my leader standard work planned out, so I would consider that number 2. So first is your personal life, number 2 is your leader standard work, and then number 3, setting up the meeting structure for when you'll have your team meeting that week, when you'll have your schedule update meeting that week, when will you have your trade partner meetings, when will you have your foreman meetings, when will you have this project management standard meeting system based around when the personal time and leader standard work has to happen in order for you to be successful in your role. So that's the other thing. Once you have your personal time and your leader standard work, you have to then say, these 2 days are my no meeting days. The rest of these 3 days, this is when I'm having my team meeting, my schedule meeting, my trade partner meeting, my foreman huddles, and any other key meeting on site that will be effective, quick, focused, and will allow me to run this project in a manner that will enable everybody on site to always know what's going on. The other thing when I'm starting a new role is what tools do I need? Usually I'll fit out my truck for what things that I need in my toolbox. Usually I'll go make sure that I have the things that I need for my desk because you have to have the tools, the equipment, the training, and the time to be effective in any role. So what tools do I need? What tools do I need for my desk? What tools do I need for my truck? Do I need a tape measure when I'm walking around? What tools will I need inside the office for my planning boards, for scheduling, for my computer? What software applications? Okay, and what equipment. The other thing I already mentioned, training. If you have a role, you start planning at least in that next year what certification trainings you're going to go to, what online trainings you're going to go to, what daily training you're going to go to, what books you're going to read, and map that out. The other thing is your time. Make sure that you have enough time for thinking, for reflecting, for leading, and for doing the things that you need to do. And again, protect your leader standard work. I'll cover that in a future podcast. And then you have a system that will drive you towards success so that you are able to daily go win. And let me explain the winning concept here briefly for you. So every day for me, I read my role, I read my resolutions, and I go through my Outlook calendar for that day. I go through my to-do list and triage what I need to do for that day. And I make a list specific to the day for what I will do. I make sure that that's reflected in my Outlook calendar and I execute and I go to work. But I do not start a day where I don't look at my role, I don't look at my resolutions, and I don't ever start a day where I don't go through and plan the day on paper first so that I can go be successful and know what winning looks like. And I definitely don't triage that to-do list without putting that on my Outlook calendar and following a personal organization system. So every time you start a new assignment, I recommend this to you 100%. It will work. If you have any questions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'd be more than happy to go into more depth for this or send you an email or anything that you might need to make sure that you're successful in your new role. So I hope this little tidbit, this Build a Little Better segment has been helpful for you. And on we go.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.